So you can just stick on a free gingival graft, but if you're not creating sufficient vestibule, then you're kind of defeating the purpose.
This is very important.
The vestibular deepening aspect of the procedure is the other component. So you can just stick on a free gingival graft onto your surgical site, but if you're not careful and you're not creating sufficient vestibule, then you're kind of defeating the purpose because you haven't addressed the muscle pull, you haven't created the fold that you naturally need for hygiene purposes. And so these are variables that we need to consider. Now, there are obviously three different approaches that I'm familiar with when it comes to vestibular deepening. There's approach number one where you're taking the mucosa and you're folding it down to the actual fold of the vestibule. There's the approach number two where you're taking the gingival tissue and you're folding it down to the base of the vestibule. And then there's also number three, which is more involved for when you're doing when you're applying it for denture wearers. You're trying to create a vestibule for denture wearers. We're going to be applying usually approach number two.
Get along the MGJ. Okay, so I'm just basically light scoring along the MGJ, and I'm just dragging very gently. See? And you'll notice that the mucosa basically automatically separates away. You don't even have to do anything. It just basically separates away. You don't even need to do anything. There's no heavy force. It's all very gentle. It's a very slight brushing action. Okay. And again, I'm just, see that? So I'm just doing a very slight brushing action. It's excellent. Everything is going well. Yeah, everything's good. I hope you guys can see that well. So it's just being patient and letting the body just take care of itself.
So one of the important thing about preparing the recipient bed is that you want to remove the superficial mucosa, but also you want to leave a periosteum, but you don't want to leave any mobile mucosal tissue on top of it, because one of the key reasons why free gingival grafting failed is because you did not partial thickness properly. Okay, so you don't want to do a free gingival grafting where the graft actually moves around once it heals up. No, it needs to be bound down. That is a key important thing. So it is a, even though as simple as it may be, there is a technique sensitivity still. So you still have to follow the principle of the preparing the recipient bed. Okay, yeah.
So I'm trying to do it in such a way that you guys can see from the camera's angle. Obviously, once I get to the lower 7, it's going to be hard because my head's going to be in the way. I'll do my best because I'll need to rotate my body to see the 7. So forgive me if all you see is the back of my head. All right, so Peter, I'll have you turn your head toward me. David, if you shoot maybe from this angle, you probably can get it. There you go. Okay, and Peter, again, you needn't open really wide. You don't have to open wide. You can actually go ahead and close down for me. Go ahead and close. You're okay? Very good. So again, it's about putting tension on the mucosa and just making a brushing action. And I'm just going to switch hands because this is easier for me. I know not all of you can do that. I can. I happen to be. And we'll just have, let's have a little...
Dr. Jin is total ambidextrous. He can cut and drill in either hand. So,
Peter,
that's...
do you have a small one?
Yes.
Let's get a small one. Let's have Peter close his mouth and relax for a second. Because I can feel his jaw jiggling. And we'll just have you close and relax there. Go ahead and relax. Close. Yeah. All together. Are you okay? Okay. Good. So again, you want to make sure your patient is comfortable. Now, if you guys notice, I actually had Peter close his mouth when I was creating that partial thickness dissection. The reason is when the patient is opening widely, it's putting tension where you don't want it. Okay? So you don't want that. You want the patient to be comfortable, but you also want their soft tissue to be relaxed. Okay, close on that. Is that better? Okay. Good. So I'm just gonna, and the whole point behind this, if you guys are noticing, I'm just using my 15C, and I think, David, you should be able to see that. I'm just doing a brushing, I'm doing a brushing action. I don't know if you guys can see this brushing action. Dab, brush, 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 brush. Okay, I'm just doing a brushing action. That's really all it is. Okay. Dab, brush, brush, brush. So it's not really rocket science if you think about it. It's actually very straightforward, this procedure. It's about letting the body's partial thickness dissection happen by itself. See that? So now you have a nice recipient bed, okay, that is ready for your FGG. See that? Look at that, okay? Now, toward the base, remember, this is all muscular, this is muscular attachment right there. So obviously, you have to separate that.
This is very important.
Okay? Because what will happen is that if you don't separate it, during the healing phase, the muscles will draw up. And then you will lose all the ground that you've gained during this procedure. So you don't want that. So again, it's about creating that depth. So this is the so-called creating that vestibular depth that we're talking about.
Now, do not be mindful what the inferior alveolar foramen is. Okay,
Yeah.
so with every procedure, make sure that you take an X-ray and verify all the anatomical landmarks.
Absolutely. You got to know exactly where your landmarks are. Okay, and there you go. That is pretty much my recipient bed. You guys can see that, and you notice